reading plan here. Today we're going over Corinthians 8, I think is where I want to start. In the beginning here, Paul is talking to the church. They're specifically talking about food offered to idols. He says, all of us possess knowledge. This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, he does not yet know as he ought to know. But if anyone loves God, he is known by God. So he's specifically talking about eating food offered to idols in this passage. But I think it has a broader context as well. I'm just talking about knowledge puffing up. That the more you know, the prouder you get sometimes. You kind of start to think of yourself more, or as more than others. But we are to put on love, which builds up others. So that is kind of where Paul's just calling this out. If anyone imagines that he knows something he does not yet know as he ought to know. This is pretty much the Dunning-Kruger effect in the first century. So if you're unfamiliar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, I'll get that on screen here. Basically, when you start learning about a subject, the amount of knowledge you have starts to go up, and your confidence shoots up drastically because you know a little bit about it. But then after a certain point of actual knowledge, you realize there's a whole lot more you need to know. So your confidence comes back down really quick because you realize there's all these things I don't know about. I don't understand this, getting into this, and then you go on rabbit trails. And then slowly over time, the confidence starts to rebuild as you actually gain mastery in whatever subject it is. So it's kind of how I see this passage, or that section of the passage. Pretty much the Dunning-Kruger effect in action there. It's that your knowledge puffs you up, and then you begin to get proud. And you start to look down on others because they don't know what you know, and you're better than them. We shouldn't look down on people. The only time we should look down on people is so we can reach out a hand and pull them up. If somebody's wrong with something, we shouldn't belittle them and call them stupid. That's not a very loving thing to do. But the way the world is now, they kind of swing in the complete opposite direction a lot of times. Where you do you, that's your truth. And we shouldn't let people live in their sin either, without being confronted. That is also not loving. So I kind of want to imagine like you're at your birthday party, got all the candles lit and everything. You turn around because you hear some commotion, and then there's your brother coming at you with a towel and hitting you on the head with it, yelling and everything. You're just like, what's going on? But turns out when you turned around, your hair caught on fire with the candles. So from your point of view, until you realize what's going on, you're being assaulted by your brother at your birthday party. But once you can get removed from the situation and you gain the knowledge of what's actually happening, your hair's on fire and your brother is putting the fire out. The world's very self-centered nowadays, so they want to be the one in the they want to be the birthday person. It's their birthday all the time, forever. We in general don't like to see things from other people's point of views. We don't like to try to get the whole truth. We just want to live in the moment and my experience is what matters. So my brother's mean because he hit me in the head with the towel at my birthday party, even though he was actually trying to save me from my hair being on fire. So that's kind of a little bit what I got about that small passage. In 9, very end of 9. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one boxing the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. So this, elsewhere, Paul will say that physical discipline is of some use, but spiritual discipline is of infinitely more use. So I think this kind of goes into both spiritual and physical discipline for sure here. But this is where discipline equals freedom, basically. Because you voluntarily discipline yourself and have self-control over your own body, your own actions, how you interact with people, you are exercising restraint so that when something external happens, you aren't just reacting. You have won those little battles in your mind over and over again, so you know that you have your own self-control, and you can resist acting out in that instance or reacting badly when something does happen or when a temptation comes. You can resist it. So that is, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest preaching to others, I myself should become disqualified. So that's Paul saying he disciplines himself so that when temptations do come, he can resist it. In chapter 11, this was just the part that stuck out. I'm just like, what's going on here? So Paul's talking to the church in Corinth, and he says, every man who prays or prophesies with his head covered dishonors his head. But every wife who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head, since it is the same as if her head were shaven. So this was really confusing to me. I'm like, so women have to walk around with veils and men can't wear hats. Kind of what the first cursory reading of it goes. So do a little digging on it. What is going on here is in Corinth, at least, probably elsewhere in Greece, but in Corinth, this was a cultural thing. So the pagans, pagan women would often cut their hair off and offer their locks as an offering to whatever other gods or idols they have going on around there. And then likewise, pagan men would get up and preach or pray with like a veil covering their head, as to not distract themselves while they're praying to pagan gods. So this passage isn't so much saying women have to wear veils and men can't wear hats. This is more calling the church to not adopt the pagan practices of the area, and to stand differently from them, so that people who don't understand what's going on don't get the Christians confused with the pagans. They're to be distinct and separate. So that, I just thought that was an interesting little cultural tidbit I picked up from this week's reading. I think that's pretty much all I got for today. I just wanted to do a quick one about those. So I'd love to hear what you guys got. If you got anything out of this week's reading, put anything in the comments. Look forward to hearing from you. So, as always, love God, love people. Have a wonderful day.